Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a fantastic day and that you're looking after yourselves and each other, because that's what is most important. In this episode of the Music Den, I'm going to be doing another installment of albums that turned 50 in 2023. Now, there are many albums that were released in 1973 that people would consider iconic. I personally would consider Queen's debut an iconic album. Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd, Mike Oldfield, Tubular Bells, Death Hotel, Passion Play, um, you know, a bunch of them. What else? Oh, yes, Elton John, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. There was an artist that released two albums in 1973. This artist was signed to a deal where they had to release two albums per year and promote a single every 30 days. That artist is David Bowie. The album I'm going to be talking about, one of two, this will be a double feature. The first album I'll be talking about is Aladdin Sane. Released April 19th, 1973, produced by Ken Scott, who also produced Hunky Dory and The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. He would go on to produce the second album I'll be talking about in this episode, Pin Ups. This album, upon release, reached number one in the UK, number 17 in the US, and number 20 in Canada. So he was on the rise at this point. He had a successful album with the previous album, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and Spiders from Mars. And this album was recorded while they were on tour promoting the Ziggy Stardust album. This album was recorded during sessions in London and in New York. This album is described as Ziggy Goes to America or Ziggy on Tour in America. And listening to the album, I can understand it. There are 10 tracks on the album, 9 originals, 1 cover. It is a departure for Bowie in terms of musical composition, and he purposely wanted it that way. Now, backing him on this album are the Spiders from Mars, Mick Ronson on guitars and various instruments, Trevor Bolder on bass, and Woody Woodmansey on drums and percussion. You also have Mike Garson on piano, and you have 3 backup singers just to sort of augment the vocals, to give the vocals a more rich sound. The album is very, to me, eclectic, a vast difference from Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and Spiders from Mars. Starts off with Watch That Man, which basically is when I say basically, I don't mean that in a bad way. Watch That Man is a rocker, first and foremost, and it was inspired by watching the New York Dolls on stage, and Bowie just wanting to capture that energy in a track. And it is a good song. The only criticism that has been levied against it is the fact that Bowie's vocals were buried in the mix on some of the verses and chorus. And I would have to agree. I need the lyric sheet to read what he's singing on that track. Aladdin Sane, which is a pun on Aladdin Sane. Aladdin Sane is next, the title track. The longest track on the album, as I scratch my head, sorry, clocks in at 5 minutes, about 13, 15 seconds, something like that. It's a very dramatic track, polar opposite of Watch That Man. And it's based on a book called The Vile Bodies from 1938. Bowie was very much an observer, and he would soak in different influences and different references. to me, the track talks about an individual who is basically trying to hold on to his reality, trying to keep a grip on it. And Mike Garson does such dramatic piano runs on this track that it makes the track a standout for me on the album. And it's very ambiguous. Does he survive at the end? Does he not? Who knows? You know, Driving Saturday comes next, and I do remember seeing footage of Bowie doing this on a British talk show. And this was when he was fully immersed in the Aladdin Sane character. He had put, in his mind, he had put Ziggy Stardust to rest for this album. And it's got to be said, I'm surprised that these albums have not been released as a double album pack because Bowie has said that this album, again, is like an extension of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars album. But Driving Saturday, very 1950s doo-wop feel on the track, even on the backup vocals that he does on the track. It talks about teenage angst, you know, like, are we going to survive our teenage youth? Our love, will it ever be, you know, quenched? Will it ever be, you know, satisfied, kind of thing? It is a good song. It is a good song. Panic in Detroit comes next, which the arrangement on it is very sparse. I hear maracas being played on this track. There's a lot of spaces in the arrangement. It was influenced by the telling of the Detroit riots that happened in 1967, as told to him by Iggy Pop of the Stooges. And they were friends at this point in time. Cracked Actor comes next. It ends off side one. A blistering account of what Bowie saw around him on the New York Strip, Sunset Strip, you know, with the prostitutes and the drug takers and the drug sellers. And it talks about an actor who has basically reached the pinnacle of his success and is basically on the decline, on the other side of that success. Time starts off side two. And again, another departure for him. It was influenced by the death of the New York Dolls drummer Bill Murcia, and it basically is one is questioning their mortality. You know, when we go, will we? You know, you're never ready for it, but will we have done everything that we wanted to do in our lives? And I think everyone questions immortality from time to time. I know I certainly have more recently. It is a good song. It is a really good song. The next song is The Prettiest Star, which is a re-recording of the same track that was done in 1970. Mark Bolan had done the original guitar work on the track. Mick Ronson re-recorded the guitar line note for note how Mark Bolan did it, and it's got to be said, Mick Ronson is an unsung hero. I think he's a very underestimated, underrated, and not spoken enough about musician. He was a classically trained musician, could do charts, could do strings, could play any instrument. And he was basically Bowie's right-hand man at this point in time. It was written about Bowie's wife at the time, Angie. Nice vocal delivery on it. Next, Let's Spend the Night Together, cover of their 1967 Rolling Stones classic track. This one, different arrangement completely, straightforward rocker, a very urgent type of vocal delivery on this track. And it's good. It's good. Did it need to be on the album? I would have preferred another original, but he was a Stones fan. So yeah, that's fine. The Gin Genie, the ninth track, the first single released from the album. It's interesting because this album was released April 19th, 1973. This single was released to the public November 24th, 1972. So you're looking at a 5 month gap between the single being released and the album coming out. And I can understand like a month before, but like 5 months before, I think they would try. Obviously, they were trying to capitalize on the fact that he was on tour with Ziggy Stardust, out the Ziggy Stardust album. Great track, fantastic bass intro done by Trevor Bolder. It's said that this track was influenced by Bo Diddley riff, also influenced by "I'm a Man" by the Yardbirds. A good song, and it was a hit for Bowie. The last track, "Lady Grinning Soul," was set to be inspired by two singers. First off was the American soul singer Claudia Lanier, and the second one was a French singer by the name of Amanda Lears that Bowie had been dating off and on. This is a very dramatic, avant-garde piece. Mike Garson shines on this track, very much so. And, he does his opening piano runs, and then there's like a split second of silence, and then Bowie comes in with the opening vocal of "She'll Come to Me." And you can almost picture him sitting on a stage in a cafe, small stage, very intimate atmosphere. There's a backlight on him, not even a front spotlight, but a backlight. So all you see is the back of him, like kind of like in the silhouette. And then after the intro piano that comes in, then the spotlight comes to the fore to show his face. And then he starts singing, but very softly. You know what I mean? Very yearning kind of a feel, right? And Mike Garson, they said that he had tried to do, when they were recording it, he wanted to do more of a flamenco Latin kind of a piano run, piano line for Bowie. So a piano line, not run. And Bowie had said, no, like very politely, because he really respected Mike Garson. He really did respect Mike Garson quite a bit. But he said, no, I want to do more of a avant-garde jazz kind of feel. So let your inhibitions go and have some fun with this thing. And he did, and it shows. It is, you can almost picture, I've said this, I was thinking about this, so to myself, you can almost picture this song as being done by Edith Piaf, the 1930s, 40s singer, a French singer. You can almost picture her doing it. Like it is an amazing piece of work, and yeah, this album kind of did capitalize on the fact that Bowie had released his album Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust, and it sort of built on that success, and very much so. I mean, people enjoyed it. It is a fantastic album. The second album that was released on October 19th, 1973, is Pn Ups. Now, Bowie, at this point, after the ending of the Ziggy Stardust tour, don't forget, he had done the tour, was doing the tour, I should say, and was recording Aladdin Sane in recording sessions in London and in New York. And the tour he incorporated tracks from both albums into the tour for the second part of the tour. And this tour of the Ziggy Stardust tour ended on July 3rd, 1973. It was at this point, at this very concert at the Hammersmith Odeon, that he announced, after they played before they played Rock and Roll Suicide, that this would be the last show that they would ever do, unbeknownst to Woody Woodmansey and Trevor Bolder. Everyone else knew on the tour. The lighting crew knew. The sound crew knew. The hairstylist knew. Mick Ronson knew, and Mick Ronson was asked to keep it quiet, because they said, if you keep this quiet, you're the next one up. We will give you a recording contract with RCA. You're off and running. Okay. So he was told to keep it quiet. So the only two that didn't know were Trevor Bolder and Woody Woodmansey, which was a complete, shit show, if you pardon my expression. I think they should have been told. This album, Pin Ups, is a covers album. RCA were pressuring Bowie for another album by Christmas because they wanted to capitalize on the momentum of Ziggy Stardust and Aladdin Sane. Bowie was basically burned out, so he offered to do a covers album. So again, it was produced by Ken Scott and reached number 1 in the UK and number 23 in the US. 12 tracks. This album is basically an homage to bands of the 60s that Bowie loved. You have a cover of, starts off with a cover of Rosalind from Pretty Things. Here Comes the Night from Them, which I believe featured Van Morrison at one point. I do remember hearing Here Comes the Night from another Canadian band named Street Heart that they did. It's still played on rock radio today. I Wish You Would by the Yardbirds. See Emily Play by Pink Floyd. Everything's All Right by the Mojos. I Can't Explain by the Who. Friday on My Mind by the Easy Beats. Sorrow, which was the single from the album, as done by the Mercies originally. Don't Bring Me Down by Pretty Things again. Anyway, Anyhow, Anywhere by the Who, track 11. And the album ends off of a Kinks cover of Where Have All the Good Times Gone, which also Van Halen did on their Diver Down album. Some people like this album. Some people think it's the best cover album ever done. Some people look at it as, it's a covers album, right? Is it one that I would go back to? I think he does good versions on this album. I think he does good interpretations. Is it one that I go back to, or that I would go back to? No. I have no doubt that Bowie did this album as a tribute to bands that he loved, in the 60s. But I also get the feeling that he kind of did this album for just to appease RCA Records and to appease the audience. I think he was appeasing more management and RCA. In fact, it was Tony DeFries who said to Bowie at the time, until we renegotiate your contract with RCA, do not give them any new material. And also at this time, Bowie wanted to buy the rights to the book 1984 and turn it into a play. And he had written 21 new songs for this play. He was on a prolific writing kick at this point. It's also had to be said that his cocaine habit was in full force at this point, which I would imagine had propelled his creative streak. But he was not able to obtain the rights, for the play for 1984. So those tracks, those 21 tracks, I do not believe were ever released. I may be wrong, and if I'm wrong, please put the comments down below, down there. But so he again released the Pn Ups album. The cover is a great cover with him and Twiggy beside him on the cover. And that cover was originally for a French Vogue cover shoot, but that never materialized. So he used it for the album, and it does kind of fit the feel of the album, where it's like, he's kind of, I do believe that at that point he kind of felt like he was being put seen as a pinup for rock music at that point. But I mean, again, it's not an album that I would really go back to. It's good to have it in your collection as a completist, which I do, in the box set. And both of these albums, I should say, are featured in the 5 Years box set that was released in 2015, remastered and all that. So yeah, between the two, Aladdin Sane and Pn Ups, I would go for Aladdin Sane, hands down. Amazing album. So that's it for now. Please let me know down below what your favorite album is. Is it Pn Ups? Is it Aladdin Sane? Is it both? Is it neither? What do you think? I mean, it's good to get, I want to get people's comments and their opinions in on this. So please let me know what you think. And please click like and hit the notification to keep yourselves on top of any new content that I've got coming up. I've been given permission to talk about this. I will be appearing on Grant Arthur's Grant's Rock Warehouse channel on in the coming weeks. We are taping an episode on the Tea Party, on their 4th album, major label release, Triptych from 1999. So we are taping on September 21st, and he will be putting that up in the coming days after that. I haven't been on this channel for a while, so it should be interesting. And I will be doing a show with Peter Kent from the Lizard King channel. Please check out the Lizard King channel and Grant's Rock Warehouse for some really good content. They both do some top-notch work. I will be doing with Peter Kent our top 10 Rolling Stones albums. We'll be taping this Friday night, and there will be, as I adjust my glasses, it'll be airing on Saturday, I believe at 6 p.m. my time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's it for now. Again, please look after yourselves and one another, and thank you for indulging me in this exercise. I truly do appreciate it. I will be talking to you very soon. Bye for now.